Hello everyone, welcome to the ONLE Networking Show, news, education and member spotlights from ONLE Networking. I'm James West.
And I'm Kelly West, and we're the co-founders of ONLE Networking, the business network for people who like people.
Welcome back, Kelly.
Thank you.
Where'd your daughter last month?
I sort of felt like I've been made redundant. She got a lot of
better
love.
reviews than you.
She did.
So we'll see how you get on today. It's a trial period. So we've got a lot coming up on... That sounded awful, didn't it? Got a lot coming up on the show. We're going to talk about building an online engaged community. We've got Kelly's networking gem. We've also got two very spectacular special guests.
Oh, bless you, James.
Tam and Sean from Groe Global. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys.
Good to see you. We're going to have an interview with you guys later, and we're going to try and keep this one under control. If you're listening, I'm pointing to Sean, not my wife. Let's be clear about that one. So, we talked last month about engaging online, and we were asking this question to members. We're talking about engagement on social media. The engagement versus posting. We were saying to people, how often do you post versus engaging? Because you need an engaged audience. What's the point in posting when no one cares and you don't have an engaged audience? Off the back of James Gale's education. Stuff like you can't build engagement by posting marketing material. We all know this, but we carry on doing it, don't we? So building an engaged community. Feel free to jump in if I say anything. But I've got a couple of quotes from members. So Margarita Holden, fairly new member. Where is she? Portugal?
Portugal.
She's got a parrot. She sings on TikTok. She's brilliant. She said this: I use social media to build relationships. I'd alienate people if I continuously posted about gas and electricity. She says utility warehouse supplier, but she talks about making people happy. She spends her time on social media talking to people. Very good tactic.
And I will butt in, because you kind of alluded to it, but she's an opera singer. So she now uses TikTok to opera sing about utility warehouse.
What does the parrot sing?
Oh, her parrot's brilliant.
This parrot comes on the meetings.
He does come on the
You
meetings.
need
He's
to
cool.
meet her. Come along.
You need to check her out, definitely.
This was a good one. Mr. Tom Perkins, good friend of ours. He was talking about LinkedIn connection requests. We all get these, don't we? You just get a connection request and then you reply and then you get like a blunt answer. This was quite a good one from him. I asked someone who'd sent me a connection request to tell me more about themselves.
Interesting.
Absolutely the right thing to do. Why connect with someone if they're not willing to have a conversation?
Yep.
They replied, well, have you read my bio? Too many people connecting with no interest in talking or tripping over themselves when you do suggest talking. We've all had this, haven't we?
Yeah, but I mean, there's so many people using automation at the moment on LinkedIn. It's that probably was somebody else. That was probably an agency or something like that.
Yeah.
And also, I just know that, certain people that are in the near vicinity, who I shall not name, quite likes a little Facebook stalk or a LinkedIn stalk. So, wouldn't understand why somebody didn't stalk them,
Yeah, exactly. It is so pointless though, isn't it? Connecting without talking.
Well,
to
you've got a
people.
great story, haven't you? Somebody we've known for years through the networking circles who constantly bombarded you with messages as though they didn't know who you were. And James went back and said, look,
This is damaging
this
you.
is damaging you. Actually emailed the person separately and said, look, I know you outsource this, that's fine, but they're not really getting the message. If it keeps happening, I'm going to disconnect, which you did. And you messaged him and said, look, I've just disconnected because it's getting ridiculous now. Blow me down. Probably a year later, you've had another blind message going, oh, it looks like we got things in
can help
common.
you grow your
Shall we
business.
connect?
Anyway,
Oh, no.
I've got to learn to not rise to those though, because I've had a few. I got in a phone call with a. I'm not going to talk about that. Right. A few more tips. Rachel Wall, all about health, isn't it? Yeah, great member. She said this, so simple. I've noticed the more I engage with other people's content, the more engagement I get on my own posts.
And another interruption, apologies, but I've
Good.
had this conversation just this morning with a member who, bless her, stressing about what to put out there. And I said, just do yourself a favour, don't. Give it a month. Just talk to other people every day on their stuff. Comment on their stuff. Share their stuff. You'll get way more attention and you can let that stress go.
I'm going to talk to you about your Clubhouse stuff in a bit as well, because that's a great example of just talking to people, isn't it? But a couple more. Last one, actually. Kate Chasty. Lovely, Kate. Well, that one's not relevant. I don't know why I've written it down. Read that and see if you can work out why I put it in the notes.
I will.
We'll come back to it. Before that, Kate Chasty. I've culled LinkedIn, so I now have a feed of people I want to hear from and engage with. And it's and this is the other bit. And it changed for me when I stopped using it to market my business and instead as a social networking platform.
Yeah.
That says it all, really, doesn't it?
I've heard that quite a lot, to treat LinkedIn as a social network rather than as a just put an advert out. So I think it seems to be working for a lot of people, which is great. So.
But Kate is also, she's pretty genius though. You know, like her content is great. I remember we took on old Peter Jones from Dragon's Den on a comment he made about franchising, and Kate was right on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, and she did a great job. She's her way of speaking to people. You know, often if you type something in and you've got a message that you're putting on LinkedIn or whatever, it can be read in so many different ways. And sometimes people just have a really natural, engaging way of putting their points across. And I think she really does have that. And it's testament to, I mean, she's got a great business too, franchise business. So
it is very cool.
Yeah.
I do think that thing about culling your feed, if you're a person who puts out stuff on social media, particularly LinkedIn, and you might have a lot of connections, but you get very little engagement, get rid of connections, don't add more, because you're falling into that trap where you're connected with a load of people who probably don't care about you.
No, although the flip side on LinkedIn for me is that I definitely connect with anybody that wants to connect, unless they just purely like, you know, the millions of people who are like, hey, it looks like you're a coach. I can build your coaching business, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the reason for it is because of the 6 degrees of separation. So it's not about what they get out of me, it's what I potentially can get out of them from a connection point of view. So if there's somebody that I would like to connect with or speak with, or later on might be interesting to me, if they are a second connection to that person, which often is the case, especially a lot of the marketing people, right? They've got about 1 billion connections. So it's just easier for me to connect with the people that I want to connect with by having the network.
But you need a genuine relationship with that connection in order for that to kick in, because too many people are just adding layers that they don't actually have any access to.
It's how I use it as, and I don't even bother with a hey, could you introduce me? What happens is I will type in the person's name that I would like to connect with, and because they're only a second degree, sort of, you know, one degree away, I can just press connection request. Whereas if they're the third degree away, you've got to do a message and maybe an in-mail or whatever. So for me, it's just literally it's just a mechanism to just go direct to the person that I want. You know,
absolutely good. But ultimately, this was the kind of punchline to the whole thing, wasn't it? If you want an engaged audience, engage your audience. Don't broadcast at them. So that's what we've learned this month. But it was good. I think this month, or it was last month, wasn't it? Asking that question, I feel like the penny's dropping and people are realising just keep churning out material is disheartening, and it's also a waste of time. You've got to at some point engage. Good lessons learned.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Right, we're already on to Kelly's networking gem, roll graphic.
Taking it back.
What's your networking gem? Not Kearney's.
Not Kearney's this month, no. So talking about one-to-ones, how to have a good one-to-one. Or as I learned yesterday, I've got to talk to you about this, our US friends call them one-on-ones. So terminology is a little bit different. So it made me think, I get asked quite a lot. I take it for granted people know what a one-to-one is. And I think twice in the last month somebody said to me,
what is that?
Can you tell me what that is? And we attract a lot of people new to networking. So I just thought, well, do you know what, let's just break that down a little bit. So one-to-one, one-on-one, getting to know that person that you're talking to, whether it's 2 people in the conversation, 4 people in the conversation, whatever it might be.
One-to-one then.
2 to 2.
Anyway,
Get together.
Yeah, we go, chat.
When he's telling me off, I know I've gone too far. Carry on.
This is true. So those of you that know networking well, yes, it's an opportunity to get to know that person, find out if there's a connection, a lasting relationship, business opportunities, etc. But do your homework, guys. Oh my goodness, the difference when you go on a call with somebody and they've gone, God, I've looked at your website, that thing that you talk about, that really resonates with me, tell me a bit more about it. Or I was on your social media, you put a great post out the other day and I'd just like to talk to you about that. Conversation starters. We've all had it. I don't get many nowadays, to be honest, but when the screen comes on, the person looks at you and you know they're thinking, I don't know who you are. I've literally jumped on here because I'm running from one thing to the next and it goes downhill very quickly. If you've pledged that time to someone, just give them a bit more of your time before you jump on the call or go walk into the room and meet them. Find out about them, you know. And I think more importantly, I was on a call yesterday to Simon Rogers, new member, and he asked me, what one thing do you want to take away from today? And I thought, that's a lovely, lovely question. And I said to him, I want to find out something about you that isn't really business related, that will help me remember you. So, you know, really, really do think about what you want to take away from the meeting and how you can help that person. I also think a good question to ask is, how can you help that person? And maybe give examples of how you've helped people in a similar situation to them.
Yeah.
So you really need to know who you're talking to. And it's a great chance for you to showcase your skills, your personality, so that they can then decide whether or not you're somebody that they can pass opportunities to.
It's very easy to do a one-to-one. I'm sure we've all experienced them, where it is just basically, right, I'm going to do my extended pitch, you're going to do your extended pitch. Thanks very much, bye. Waste of time, isn't it? You've got to try and get...
Yeah.
And you're very adept at getting into... Sometimes you come off of a call and I'm like, how did you know that? I suppose it's... What's that? Relaxing, asking... How do you know whether it's appropriate to ask a question?
I think you can tell very quickly. And I'm letting myself down here and I'm kicking myself. But lovely Andy that's over in the background there. Got Bengali cat, is that right, Andy? He had a one-to-one with somebody. Nathan?
How do you remember
There you
this
go.
stuff?
He had a
I don't even know
one-to-one.
he's got a cat. He's one of my mates.
So Nathan's got a Bengali cat, and that's what they talked about. Bengal cat. Not
Bengali sounds good.
Bengal cat. But that's really unusual. Really unusual. So Andy's going to remember him. Okay, he's in HR. So when you need an HR person, I'm going to think of him, aren't I? I've just got too much space in my brain, I think, for stuff like this.
Can't
But
do
you know.
it.
Can I add something? Can I interrupt? I think it's also about being a little bit vulnerable in front of the person that you're chatting with as well, and not just being businesslike, but sharing the personal side of you as well. Because when you share that vulnerability, you can sense if the other person is going to trust you and return with that vulnerability, and kind of it builds on layers that way.
Yeah.
And that's what becomes memorable, are those personal moments, because they resonate with us personally, because they bring up emotions within us.
Yeah.
So yeah, just don't be afraid to share personal stuff in those one-to-ones as well. Yes,
And
they are
this
business
is why they say
focused.
opposites attract.
Von, I was going to say, I can imagine you going in, crying. I'm struggling. Can you help me?
You know, the thing is, right, as far as I'm concerned with networking or anything else, I love what Kelly said, you know, do a little bit of homework on the person, because I'm not great with chit-chat. Especially with people I don't know, because like I'm not adept at this whole hey, how's the weather thing. You know, so like I think that the when you talk to somebody, you want to do one of two things. You want to first give them the ammunition that they need to be able to sell you, right? So you actually got to know what your business is, and you've got to be able to, in a sentence, not even an elevator pitch or anything like that. You know, you got to leave something with them so that they remember, that's the guy or that's the girl that I want to talk to for that.
Yeah.
And then after that, as long as you know a little bit about their business, if you focus on them more than you focus on you, you know, then that works really, really well, because, you know, they get more engaged, they remember you, and etc. But, you know, the thing is, chatting for the sake of chatting, I don't get, you know. And it's networking. People are paying money. They are, you know, they came here because they're trying to improve their own circumstances, their own business, etc. And a chat is lovely, you know, but actually you do want to, like, at some stage you want to get some form of something out of it, right?
That's surely reading the person that you're talking with. Is this a person that's here for, you know, mostly business, or do they want more of a chat because they like the support side of networking? That's probably where you've got to have your wits about you, isn't it?
I think that's probably why lots of different styles and types of networking groups is great, because you can very quickly find your tribe that you know, well, that's predominantly social networking, so I can be a little bit more me, or, you know, this one's more transactional, so it's going to be more business based. So I think that's why it's nice to have a blend, so you've got space for both.
And you're right with that. I think that networking groups, you know, you need to find your home, right? And like ONLE is the home of so many great people. And it's where, you know, it's where you get your support from. It's where you get to be, you know, vulnerable with people. You can tell them when you're having an absolute day, you know, or whatever it might be, and that works, you know, for that particular purpose, you know. But equally, you know, somebody like me, like, that doesn't get small talk or anything like that, you know, I want to see, can I help you? You know, tell me what you need. And it really irritates me when the person doesn't know what they need.
Yeah.
When they don't know what they actually want me to help them with.
Sean's networking gem, right there.
Well, you've got to know what you want.
Got to know what you want.
Yeah. Even if you make it up, just have something that I can use, because I'm always willing to help promote somebody, or if I bump into somebody, I'll always do a referral or something like that. But you got to give me something.
Yeah.
One of those key questions is, on a one-to-one, who could I introduce you to that's going to help you? Or who's an ideal client? That's probably a BNI one, isn't it? But it's a good question.
Yeah.
And if people go, I don't know, like anyone, if you're the person saying anyone, you've got some work to do, because that's not good enough, is it?
Yeah, you give them a good roasting right then and there.
Is that what you do?
I'll talk about something else.
A little bit gentler, probably. Then.
It is funny though, because you were talking about Clubhouse, and one of the most popular rooms that we ever ran. So we've got this little founders group, which is made up of a guy called Ying Tan, who is he just sold the biggest mortgage brokerage in the country called Dynamo. Another guy called Dean Kelly. Dean is just incredibly successful. He's got an edutech platform, which was mentioned by Elon Musk the other day. Michaela Wayne and Harrison. Michaela and Harrison were both finalists in The Apprentice. Yeah. Hayley, who's got this amazing business, she does LED lighting for corporates, and then me. But the most and of course a really good friend of mine, Trevor Krotz, who's over in the States, right? He's got a brand called Buddy Rest, and he does like these super orthopedic dog beds. So the rooms that resonated the best with small businesses, because Clubhouse was a phenomenon, right? It slowed down a lot, but when we were in it, it was insane. And the rooms that resonated the best were our roast rooms, right? Where we used to come in and we'd say to people, hey, listen, just tell us about your business. And if they were talking rubbish, right, we'd just be like, oh my God, dude, what are you on about? What are you doing? So this Charlie, I'll never forget Charlie, right? So Charlie's in California, social media guru. And he comes on and his bio says, right, I've spent millions of dollars in social media for big corporate clients. And he's telling us this, and he's all California enthusiastic.
I feel like we're going to get into a legal battle if we're not careful. Is he called Charlie?
He is called Charlie, and he wouldn't mind me saying this.
This is on you, Sean, all right?
But I was like, oh, right, that's great, dude. Do you make them any money? You're clearly good at spending their money, millions of dollars. What exactly did you make back for them? And he's like, well, it was brilliant, and it was this, and it was all creative and everything like that. I was like, Charlie, dude. Like seriously, like I right now I could not trust you to do my social media, because I can spend people's money too.
Yes.
Not difficult.
Yes.
Anyway, so he came back 3 or 4 times to our roast rooms, right? And every time we just absolutely laid into him, because he was trying an angle and it was just not going to go anywhere. That guy, after those 4 roast rooms, he went away for about a month or so, and he came back to us afterwards and he said, guys, you will not believe how much that has helped my business, because the big problem is with coaches and mentors and a lot of people who are like you're paying for their opinion. So they muck around, they don't say, listen, this is quite rubbish. Yeah. This is a bit stupid, honestly.
This is kind of like his managing chat we had before this whole filming, wasn't he?
We say this, though, don't we? Go to networking, unless you've got something that is absolutely flying and works, use it as an opportunity to work out supply and demand and ask people, does that resonate? But be brave enough to accept the fact that they're probably going to tell you what you don't want to hear, because it's hard, isn't it, to hear criticism. He obviously had the right attitude to take that criticism.
No, he was brilliant, and there were a bunch of other guys, similar in the roasting rooms. They came back time after time after time, and we thought we were actually just honestly, like Michaela had about 4 bottles of wine that night, and I was in a funny mood. And the first time we did our roast room, right, and we couldn't figure out what we were going to say, we just said, look, we're going to roast you, come get it. And they did, and it was our biggest and most popular room. Just straightforward, honest, Simon Cowell type feedback, no holds barred, and genuinely the audience would come up and they learnt so much about their business, they learned so much about their pitch in such a small period of time, as opposed to going and doing a 6-month mentoring coaching thing where by the end of it you still don't know what you're up to.
Very good point. We've got to move on.
Move on.
Well, we've got to interview you, so we're not moving that far. Tam and Sean, so I've got a little bio that I've written. I'm going to read it out. Tam and Sean are a husband and wife business powerhouse.
Oh,
That's what I said.
are we?
House, maybe.
Originally from South Africa, if you haven't guessed that by now. Tam is a successful graphic designer and Sean is a business consultant specialising in helping global businesses become franchises. I think that's quite accurate. Recently, they've polled their considerable talents to create a company called Groe Global dedicated to helping franchising businesses. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
James.
For the second
Thank you
time.
for having us.
You're very welcome. Let's talk about South Africa. I was going to say the elephant in the room. That's probably not appropriate, is it? What brought you here? What was it? I'm interested in the adjustments that you maybe had to make getting into business in the UK.
Okay.
So it all started. Tam and I actually met while both of us were students in Johannesburg. And Tam was studying graphic design. I was studying advertising, and we just kind of bumped into each other. But
So
anyway,
romantic.
yeah, I know. Well,
Well, it is a deeper story, but we'll do that another day on another recording.
bit of a dodgy story. But no, so after studying, it was one of those really typical situations in South Africa. As you probably noticed, there's a bunch of South Africans outside of South Africa, and part of that was because after the end of the governmental changes or whatever, there were legal changes, to who was getting preference in terms of jobs and things like that. And whereas 20, 40 or 30 years ago in South Africa, it was all about the white male, had all the positions. We literally just went whoop right to the bottom of the list. And this wasn't just a social thing. It was written into law, right? It's called affirmative action. Anyway, so getting a job was near on impossible, right?
Okay.
So you had two choices. It was either start a business, or
Especially coming straight out of studies.
yeah, exactly,
As well.
or go find
You
somewhere
probably
else.
did it at the worst time, really, didn't you?
Well,
Yeah,
I think
but-
when it happened, it was right in the thick of it. It was,
Yeah.
it was rife. So
Didn't you say a part ended while you guys were at school? So you went
Yeah,
from a
high
cer-
school, beginning of high school.
That's crazy,
yeah.
isn't
So
it?
for us,
we were just at the
it's-
tail end of our parents were right in the thick of apartheid, right?
Yeah.
And because my parents were from England, my dad's from England, they were always very sort of liberal. To the point where my granny was part of an organisation called the Black Sash, which was a women's organisation that used to go and stand outside of Parliament with their black sashes and protest against apartheid and stuff.
Wow.
Which didn't work well for us because the word got out in the town that we grew up in, which was very Afrikaans, that we were pro-blacks.
Wow.
That was the messaging. So we had a tough time growing up. My dad had a really tough time growing
Your
up.
dad's got quite a few stories to tell actually about where.
Yeah, so
the
they didn't
white
like
people-
anyone from an English heritage it wasn't a great place. And on top of that, the town that I grew up in, I only found out much later on that it was a concentration camp during the Boer War against the English.
Wow.
So there was a lot of history there that nobody
Layers
spoke
there.
about, but
Yeah.
a lot of resentment. But anyway, I mean, that just makes you tougher, right? And so after college, I just wanted to come and meet the family because it was tough finding a job. I thought I'd just come say hello to everyone here in Britain. I was only intending to stay 1 year, and I was going to come over on my South African passport and get a visa and do all of that kind of stuff. And they were like, well, to do that, you're going to have to put £2,000 in your bank account. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure I like that.
And that's
And
quite
then-
that's quite a high amount converted to rands as
Yeah.
well. So it doesn't sound a lot, but actually converted to rands, it's quite a lot for a South African. So
Yeah.
that
So
was
so
the
we
invitation came.
phoned the British embassy and they're like, yeah, it's 80 quid. Send us a photo. I was like, yeah, cool. But anyway, so I came over and started businesses and things like that. And then 2 years later, Tam came over, and I'm quite proud to say we managed the whole long distance thing for 2 years.
No.
While I was over here.
And even that was only meant to be a year, and we are now going on to 20 years. So
Yeah. So literally, I've lived
Almost
in
half our
England
life.
for longer than I've lived in South Africa now.
So that question about cultural difference business-wise, you kind of learn business here more than you
Yeah.
did there, presumably.
And also, my family they still aren't very entrepreneurial in South Africa. So for me, owning my own business was a very new concept. You obviously had started your own business before I arrived. So I think it was purely from being here. I've kind of learned it being here.
But England's easy, honestly. Like Britain is as a foreigner, it is like this is the reason everyone wants to come here, is because it is not difficult to get yourself, start a business, build a business, etc. Compared to other places where there's other challenges, right? Crazy challenges. You know, you come to England, as long as you've got a great attitude, right?
Yeah.
And you say yes to a lot of things. You know, whether it is, you know, pouring pints at a stadium or whatever.
Yeah.
You say yes and you do it with a good attitude. It is insane how quickly you get promoted, and you know, things just happen. People like the you know, the positive attitude that you bring. And you know, this is a funny thing, because a lot of people think it's foreigners coming into Britain, right, that are hardworking and all that, and you know, often people will say the British are really lazy, and you know, that's why it's easy. But actually, when you go to places like Australia, right, all the people picking up the litter and working in all the pubs and everything like that are English kids.
Right.
And there's something magical or something interesting that happens with your mindset when you are away from your comfort zone, when you're away from your power base, right? When the culture is slightly different, you just pull finger, basically. You know?
Love it.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about global business, because we were talking about this earlier. Obviously, you guys, you know, you've travelled a bit from elsewhere. You were saying, Sean, about, was it yesterday, where you travelled about 4 countries in one day? Let's just talk about global business the last couple of years. We can't avoid that context. Is it become easier? It was always possible to do a global business. How has it changed for you guys?
Well, we started Grow Global in 2020, slap bang in the middle of the pandemic. And had it not been for COVID, I don't know whether that would have happened.
COVID's been great for us business-wise, and the majority of it is because of just a slight change in mindset or acceptance of different business processes. So look, bearing in mind, you know, the success that we've seen with Grow Global over the past year at least has been kind of mind-blowing, but it's been a lot of years of hard work to be, you know, the overnight success type thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a lot of groundwork, a lot of relationship building, etc. And you know, as with anyone, you know, you go through different types of businesses, you try different kind of things, and I'm sure that there's many ONLE members that are in exactly the same place, where you've started a business, you think it's right, and it's just not resonating, or it's just not working, but you don't realize that the experience that you're gaining by you know, going down this route is what you're building as a jigsaw puzzle piece, right?
That's good, isn't it?
That is going to absolutely fit later on, and there's no defining when that later on is.
Nice.
So all the work that we've done, and you know, etc., and then COVID came along and Zoom, you know, just blew up. Just let people sort of accept, actually, it's okay to speak to somebody on Zoom. And you know, I had this conversation a few days ago. I mean, just in the last year, we are now going on maybe our 14th hire. You know, it's been growing that quick. And most of our employees are in South Africa, right? And I don't consider them outsourced or offshored or anything like that. You know, these are just people that I'm speaking to on Zoom, which is scary, because it means, like, for my kids, if, you know, growing up in Britain, and, you know, if they're going to go out into the workforce and things like that, like, what would stop an employer like me or like you or anybody, right? Just saying, oh, here's a job available, and you just physically have no care if that person is in wherever. In fact, one of our employees told us this morning that she's moving to Hong Kong with her husband. He got a job out there. You know, would that be an issue? I was like, no, Hong Kong branch sounds great.
Yeah.
It's a different way of looking at it, isn't it? That's so
Whereas
cool,
in the
isn't
past, it would have been, that's it, she's moving to Hong Kong, job finished. But no, it actually opens doors for her, but it opens doors for us as well, having her there. So,
And that's changed massively. I think we've been flung 5 years in advance, haven't we? And I do think we've had to run to keep up, but we've had so much of it now. I think it's cemented, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Because it genuinely doesn't matter, does it?
No.
Yeah, it's so cool. Just quickly, we need to touch on the fact that you're husband and wife. What's that like working together? This is the AKA have you not killed him yet question, isn't
well,
it?
it's funny, I brought that
He looked a
question
bit
up in the
upset then. I
car.
feel a bit bad.
I brought this question up in the car and I was like, what do we say? Like, you know, I actually have hit a blank. What on earth do we say? Because there are moments that, you know, I could absolutely kill him. But then there are moments that just we feel so inspired, and to be able to share that moment, I think is quite magical for a couple to be able to do. And you will know that as well. You know, those high five moments are even more magical that you experience them together because they're both your stories. You know, we do have those days where we need time apart, and I think, you know, that is important as well. Sean often goes and works elsewhere because I'm driving him crazy.
Somewhere else.
But that's just natural. I mean, we live together, we work together, we have a lot of, you know, insane moments in our life. We've got 3 young boys. Life is intense generally, and yet to throw a big business in that, managing people, there's you know, there are intense moments.
Yeah, people don't realize, you know, the thing is that, you know, would this have worked if we weren't husband and wife? I'm not sure, right? And when Tam said, hey, what are we going to say? You know, I was thinking, all right, okay, we got to come up with some PR stuff. And I was like, well, I mean, I could just say, oh my God, it's so crap. But no, the thing is, you know, like our working day, people will often, and I think this is going to be the same case for you guys and for many of the other people watching this, right? How you come across when you're talking to people and networking and everything like that often belies the amount of work behind it, right? And like Tam and I, we wake up in the morning, right? And then it's rush hour, kids to school, all that kind of stuff, right? And the minute the kids are at school, work starts, right? So that's 9 a.m. Often 9 a.m. is Australia calls, right? Or it's with somebody who like is in a weird place. And then it's full on work because we've got a South African team. Luckily, they 1 hour ahead of us or 2 hours ahead of us. So by the time we sit down, there's already stuff happening, right?
Started,
But I don't usually get off Zoom for more than about an hour in total a day, right? And my day doesn't end at 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, right? We last night went to bed at 1:30. And for the last 2 years, we have. Bags and no, but for the last 2 years, I don't think we have you know, gone to bed earlier than that. But that's one of the consequences of working internationally, right? Because your Florida clients, you know, are 5 hours away. You know, your guys in you know, the California, 9 hours. You know, and you've got to work around their days and everything. And a lot of people say to us, well, you know, work-life balance and all that kind of stuff. I mean, honestly, this work-life balance thing, it just irritates me.
But I think we have found a balance in some way, because remember, you know, we've still got the kids coming home from school and they're thrown into that as well. So you know, we've chosen this path to work for ourselves, and we are able to say, right, it's the kids' time now, because I do that. And if you haven't noticed, I stop at 3 o'clock, I fetch the kids, and I dedicate my afternoons to them. Yes, that means I sacrifice my evenings. You know, I get back on my computer at 9 o'clock and I'm probably emailing you at some random time. But I've come to peace with that, and I love that time because the kids are in bed, the distractions of my team messaging me throughout the day are finished, and I get that slot of time late at night to focus and work on what I need to do.
And you couldn't work that way if you weren't a couple, if you weren't married, and that we're very similar, aren't we?
Definitely. I think it's just having that person there to constantly bounce those ideas off. That's good and bad, of course. But also, people say to us about it being so successful, and it's the same as you said, I don't think it would have been if we weren't husband or wife.
Also, I think you're more honest
you
with
wouldn't
each other
tolerate
as well.
it, I don't think, would you?
No.
Because you wouldn't understand the other one's stresses and challenges. So...
It's not even that, it's the partner of the person, right? They'll be like, what are you doing?
Why are you doing that?
Calls at this time of night or whatever. But listen, there's negatives too, right? And, you know, exactly like what you were saying about bouncing ideas off each other. I absolutely hate bouncing ideas off Tam. Honestly,
and I will not do design work for sure, and there's no ways.
I couldn't possibly find, you know, what would I call it? You know, some people bounce ideas off things, right? Tam is the black hole of ideas. You know, so if I throw an idea at Tam, right, it is coming back with a, oh.
Is it too late to uninvite Sean?
This is a weird role reversal, isn't it?
Well, I don't know if I like this.
But, you know, but that's important, though, because...
I'm married to Sean.
But listen, remember, you know, the thing is that the biggest danger of being a partner, right, or being married to your business partner is the fact that you don't have separate stories, right? So what happens is you end up talking about exactly the same thing in exactly the same context. It can't be interesting, right? It has to get to the point where actually you start getting on each other's nerves, because, like, you know, Kelly will be saying something about someone and James will be like, I was bloody there, you know.
Yes, it's so true.
You know? But so for me it is important. Tam hates it when I go and work, like I go to Stockbridge often or somewhere, but I need different stories. And when it comes to bouncing ideas off people, I need enthusiasm to keep me going, right? Because that's I need the energy of the clatter and the noise.
I'm unenthusiastic and unenergetic. Can we uninvite him at this moment?
This is one of those moments in my life where I've got to decide if I'm going to be honest or not. So, for the sake of the video, I choose not to. But no, but it is that, right? So if I'm going to put an idea, and often the thing is that people like me, right? I need to constantly be able to judge where I am, right? So I'll throw ideas at stuff. The whole idea of the bounce back is like echolocation, right? It is not necessarily that is the idea, right? But it might be a part of the idea. And as long as I know that there's something coming back, I immediately adjust my thinking. So I have to have that. And being sort of, working in the same business as your partner, you can't, because there are no outside perspectives. There's no outside experience, right, that you can do. So I genuinely think, like I was saying to Tam, in a perfect world, what we would do is we would be working together, but in different offices or in different places.
This is not a good endorsement, is
countries.
it?
No, but it's realistically, it's because when I get home from work, I want to go to my wife. I don't want to go to my business partner. I think that's the difference. You
chose the honesty route. And I'm going to move it on there because we're already over time. But I've got to ask you this question very quickly.
I knew it was going to happen.
You guys come up with some amazing South African phrases. Have you got any for us today that you want to share? You've got something written on your arm.
I have, but do you want to? Because mine could actually follow on for the one you used earlier. I don't know if you want to use that one again.
There's lots of things, right? But I thought I'd demonstrate how dynamic South African is, right? Often when you are about to end a conversation, right, and you're chatting and whatever, you would say something like, "Ach, ja no, lekker man," And that is basically a way. So you're using Scottish, ach, right? Ja, which is Dutch, right? No English, lekker, which is Afrikaans, and then back into man, which is English. And you're saying yes, no, that's nice, dude.
That's brilliant.
And that kind of is also like saying now. I'll do it now, Kelly, which kind of could mean I'll do it in 5 minutes. It could mean I could do it tomorrow. I might never do it, but I'll do it now.
Well, no, she's lying. What it actually means is when somebody says to you, when are you going to do it?
Now.
To me. I'm like, I'll do it now, okay? I.e., piss off and leave me alone.
But there are some other great words. So Sean used the phrase hold my beer earlier in a conversation we had. And that could result in a babbelas, which is a hangover. Babbelas.
Why is it called babbelas?
Well, it just is, man. Why is it
That's
called
a rubbish question.
Why is it called a hangover?
Babbelas, that's cool.
I love that.
And that could be really kif, which means cool. Kif.
Oh.
And one that my kids use, they pick up millipedes in the garden. And as a South African, you are taught never to kill the shongololo, because there's a legend that if you kill a shongololo, which is a millipede, it will bring rain. So don't kill shongololos.
If somebody does something really good or, does you a favor, instead of saying thanks, right, I might say to you, shot. And i.e., a shortening of good shot, as in cricket, like that was well played, good shot. Yeah. So we just shorten it and we say shot.
I love it.
Yeah.
Can we just do an episode?
There's a whole episode here.
Expressions.
I have to write more notes, Mom.
No, there's loads, and in Zulu, like my kid Luke, my eldest, the other day something happened to him, and he was like, "Ish," and Aish is like a Zulu phrase for oh my God, you know. I didn't even realize. And when they speak to us, they say "ya," not "yeah."
That's very cool.
So,
Love it.
Very cool.
We got to end it there.
Oh.
Tam, Sean, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
It's been fantastic having you. Thank you, Callie, as usual. This has been the ONLE Networking Show. Please like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you again next month.